My name is Brian Palmer, and I'm a social anthropologist teaching in the Department of Theology at Uppsala University. Daniel Gilbert, a professor of psychology at Harvard, takes up the example of the shoe bomber. This was a man who several years ago was on a flight that was going to land in Chicago, and he started to light his shoe on fire and had some kind of explosive material in the shoe. Nothing much happened. Other passengers jumped on him and stopped him. The shoe did not explode, and the plane landed safely in Chicago. But within a week, every airport in the United States of America required all passengers to take off their shoes before going through security so that the shoes could be x-rayed, a policy that, with just a few exceptions, continues today. And Daniel Gilbert notes that the United States responded with crushing resolve and incredible speed to a problem that has killed exactly 0 people in aviation history, namely shoe bombers. He contrasts that with the American response to climate change, which is killing, as we know, many thousands of people around the world in low-lying areas, in impoverished areas, even many people in the United States. Why this difference? And Daniel Gilbert says, well, it has to do with the kinds of threats that human beings have evolved to be worried about, that through much of human evolution, the greatest danger to any of us was the man with a stick in the dark forest who was ready to kill us. And the shoe bomber comes somewhat close to that image, an individual wanting to do us harm. And as Daniel Gilbert notes, the shoe bomber had a mustache. He was a human being. Climate change does not have a mustache. It's impersonal. It doesn't take human form. So while we respond with incredible resolve to the one threat that has killed nobody, we do much less for a threat that is killing many.
So my name is Ludwig.
Hej, jag heter Marcus.
Hi, my name is Agnes Lynn.
Jag heter Mattias.
My name is Michael.
My name is Carolina.
My name is Elin.
How does climate change influence you personally?
How does climate change influence me personally?
Sometimes I feel confused because I don't know what to do or where to start, or what really makes a change. But I definitely believe I have a responsibility.
It helps me think about how sustainable our society is. It helps me think about why did we arrive to this crisis and what can we do to fix it.
Some days it makes me really distraught or stuck in despair, but especially recently, I've gotten a sense of agency about it. That the more I talk about it with others, and that it's actually just very important to just keep on talking about the issues.
It feels that sometimes it's becoming even we're going to a science fiction dystopia. Just look at the internet, Facebook, the scandals, data, and so on. And I feel we need a big movement. Like, for example, one of the quotes was that we need a mobilization equal to World War II against climate change. And it's not gonna simply happen just by itself.
How have you adapted to climate change in your actions?
That's a very good question. In some ways, I really do try to live a more sustainable life, to bring about a more proactive lifestyle, to the way I buy things, the way I consume things, to be more mindful of how I live.
That's like the horrible part of it all, I think, because I do think, especially now that I am very like environmentally conscious, or whatever that means nowadays, when everyone's environmental conscious but don't really do anything about it.
Maybe the main action I've taken is I've gotten more politically interested, and it definitely impacted last year's election choice.
So I've thought about, when I've been in school, for example, should I take the vegetarian option or should I take the normal option, which sometimes is fish or meat? And I've thought about the aspect that maybe the vegetarian option would be more sustainable.
That we don't fly to conferences at another part of Sweden, although it takes several hours to go by train. You still have to go by train because that's more environmentally friendly.
As an investor, you have to look at the mega trends, and you have to look at the value of the masses, which are supposed to be your customers.
Do you think that your community is doing enough for climate change?
Like here where I am right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Sweden in general?
I think in Uppsala, even just the fact that it's a bike city, that it's even hard for cars to drive around in Uppsala. I think that just shows that Uppsala tries to be aware of the nature and the environment.
Men får ni lära er det här i skolan?
Vi har lärt oss lite, tror jag.
I would say in the school I go to, there's a large group in my class that doesn't really almost believe in climate change, or maybe they're being naive or they don't want to change. And I feel like there's no maybe guidelines, or I feel there's no maybe influence from, I don't know, I would say maybe teachers and the systems that I have in my school at least, that would help the students to maybe form some kind of discussion towards sustainability.
No, I don't think. Sweden and Swedish policies are doing up. Some Swedish companies are trying, but at policy level, there's still too much focus on on individual consumer choices than actually forcing the industry or companies or society to change as a whole.
There's also one side that's just honestly skeptical. I think there's one side of me that just wants to point the problem, point the solution to somewhere else. It's not a problem of the people. That is what I feel. It's a problem of the people in authority.
It's sometimes been said that it's easier to imagine the end of the world than to imagine the end of capitalism. That most of us can pretty readily picture a scenario where human civilization, or indeed most biological life, is destroyed through climate change, through war, but that it's much harder to picture what would a humane society look like. What would a society that has overcome the excesses of capitalism, the tendency of our current ways of organizing things to lead to environmental destruction and vast inequalities, and to leave some people's needs unmet. And for me too, it's hard to even think what that would be. And an important ingredient of social engagement and leadership is civic courage, is a readiness to take risks for persons outside one's own family and circle of friends, or for a common ideal such as the survival of the human species. Acts of civic courage win the respect of other people if we show that we're ready to make sacrifices, to take personal risks, to pay a price for the things we believe in. It shows other people that we are serious about our convictions, and in some way we are not in it for ourselves.
What advice would you give to the world about climate change? What advice would you give to the world?
I feel like I'm the last person to give advice to the world about climate change.
And that's why we want to ask you. So if you can stand on a podium right now and the whole world could hear your voice projected, what would you say?
That's no pressure at all.
To really think about the consequences of the things you do. Try to do your best, your little things you can do, like turning off the lamps if you see it's on, like those small things. It takes you just some seconds to do a small change. In the bigger picture, small changes will have big effects, but then you of course have to believe that it's gonna help.
I feel like just like start to care and actually show that you care, because it feels like people are so scared of that.
Dare to speak about it, dare to bring opinions about it, dare to lift your voice about it. I think that's my main advice.
Maybe just like intentional thought about how we build community. I think in a city like Uppsala, it's small, there's not as many people, so it's easier to like bring in influence from whatever secondhand places, or like bring change in the way that we want to see it.
Yeah, and I think we as consumers have to just show what we want with our future.
But I think that standing on the stage talking about how we need to change is not going to solve anything. It's going to be my personal example. I'm trying to help something, doing something, sacrifice something for the benefit of the climate.
We're in 2020 almost by now, and that's quite futuristic. 2040 is just in 20 years from now, and it's one of the turning points.
Also realizing how fortunate we are, but still doing so little because of arrogance and self-gain, greed.
Ja, visst gör det ont när knoppar brister. Varför skulle annars våren tveka? Varför skulle all vår heta längtan bindas i det frusna bitterbleka? Höljet var ju knoppen hela vintern. Vad är det för nytt som tär och spränger? Ja, visst är det ont när knoppar brister. Ont för det som växer och det som stänger. Ja, nog är det svårt när droppar faller. Skälvande av ängslan tungt de hänger. Klamrar sig vid kvisten, sväller, glider. Tyngden drar dem neråt, hur de klänger. Svårt att vara oviss, rädd och delad. Svårt att känna djupet dra och kalla. Ändå sitta kvar och bara darra. Svårt att vilja stanna och vilja falla. Då, när det är som värst och inget hjälper, brister som jubelträdets knoppar. Då, när ingen rädsla längre håller, faller i ett glitter kvistens droppar. Glömmer att de skrämdes av det nya. Glömmer att de ängslades för färden. Känner en sekund sin största trygghet. Vilar i den tillit som skapar världen.
If we imagine an improved Sweden, a slightly imaginary Sweden, that's what we can hope for. And they said that would be a Sweden with more equality, with less emphasis on competitive consumption and trying to have a very high material standard of living, with a strong labor movement and social movements with even greater ecological awareness. And I find that vision appealing because it's not so utopian. A lot of what the world needs is already being tried in different ways in the Nordic countries in particular, also sometimes in other parts of the world, of course.
If we have more social connections to each other and just talk more with the people, especially when the ones closer to us in our neighborhoods and communities, that will make life in a circular economy better. So the more narrowed down advice is take care of yourself and each other.
The future for me would be a future in where more people have more choices, basically. Choice is not a privilege of me and of us over here, but rather a blessing to everyone, at least much more people. And climate change has a major role in that because it limits a lot of people and it affects them more than me. So working against climate change is not just for the environment but also for the people of the world.
Det är väl för att typ alla djur ska må bra och typ så att det inte blir varmare i typ de kalla städerna.
Really take it personally, even though they are not the cause of Chernobyl or they are not owning a big oil company. They have to take everything personal because there's always something that you can do.
So in a funny way, we're in a very good place to be asking this question, and the students and teachers at CEMUS, Sweden's premier center for issues of sustainability, are in a supremely good position to be raising these questions, that these students and teachers have the freedom and the surrounding knowledge from the Scandinavian societies to be making progress on these issues. And then the trick becomes how do we persuade others to share our vision